And there you have it, people. Wetbelt on a transporter. Dun dun dun. Welcome back to the Car Edition YouTube channel. You guys have been asking for something different other than transit, so today we bring you the best van on the market, a VW transporter. We're going to do a timing belt and a full service, so let's take you through that. Always the bar, especially on the locking wheel nut. Just loosen it off. Put that there. So I said these are the best vans on the market purely just because they're much easier to do than a transit. I used to work on a lot of these, so I enjoy it. Pull the dipstick out, take the cap off, a little bit of condensation in there where it just doesn't get hot enough. Straight the oil. All good. You can see it's got a cut, but it doesn't go down to cords or anything. There's nothing to worry about. Take the wheels off so we can inspect everything properly. These transporters love rear shock absorbers, rear springs, any roll bar bushes, any roll bar links. Let's see if it's got any of that. Van. So as you can tell, this van was obviously well maintained before because none of the wheels come off. The reason I leave a wheel bolt in is because you just want that in a couple of threads and then you can get your hammer, hit it from the inside, it'll come off and the wheel ain't gonna come flying off. And don't panic, it is the hide part of the hammer, so I'm not damaging nothing. Fuck me, they were on there, weren't they? The front brakes move freely, plenty of meat left on them. Any roll bar link bushes are good. They're fine. Because as you can see, we've got a bit of oil coming from just here. We'll be able to see it a bit better when we get the crank pulley off, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be that front main seal. Same this side, front brakes move freely, plenty of meat left on them. Check the back. Rear pad's getting really low, so we should recommend that to the customer. If you want to take a look in here, this is your inner pad. There is nothing left of that. That is almost metal to metal. That is the importance of taking your wheels off on a service. You can see where he's just started to kiss the disc metal to metal. It's got a bit of a lip on this inner edge anyway, so I'll recommend discs and pads. Ball joint's good, drive shafts are good. Little bit of mess from the previous oil change. Doesn't look too bad either. A little bit sludgy. Seen a lot worse, that's for sure. Take the old O-ring off. Grab a little bit of the engine oil, run it around the seal, then pop it back in. The both front tyres are slightly worn more on the edges than the middle, shows slight tyre pressure issue. Yeah, the rears are about perfect. There you go, we're all good. Let's crack on with the rest of it. Sump bun back in. VW are kind enough to give us a reusable washer, so you never need to replace that. Clean all of our mess off. While we're under here, we can probably start prepping some bits for timing belt, so I'll take the fan belt off. I'm not going to put the oil in it just yet in case they want that front main seal, because it'll need the silicone to go off on the bottom of it. So I'm going to take the airbox out because I need that out of the way to do the timing belt. Fuel filter's over there, so we can do that now too. Bosh, 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 bosh. That comes out. Air filter doesn't look too bad. If you're a fan of the channel, you know we've seen a lot worse. There's one bit. There's the next bit. Volkswagen top timing cover. So we've got the top timing cover off and now you can see the belt nice and clearly. Strap out the way. You want to put a tray underneath, axle stand. Right, you want to locate that roughly where the water pump's going to be. Get an axle stand and a block of wood. Pull out from there. My bad, I completely forgot on these transporters. They have a engine mount at the back. So really, you don't need to support the engine. We can go up, we'll take the crank pulley off, get the cover off. See where that 30 Torx bolt is, just above it here. There's a little hole, and you'll get a pin that lines up over here somewhere, and then a fuel pump. That gets pinned as well, and the crank also gets pinned. So this is your crank tool, just for there. 2 of your crank pulley bolts. So we're in on the crank. Let's pin the cams and the fuel pump. Straight in, just there. Straight in as well. And that is how you time up these VW engines. Now I've got to do the tensioner, get the guides off, water pump out. Belt off. This isn't a wet belt, but what you want to look out for is pretty much the same sort of things. Just degradation in the belt, you just see little bits of cracking here, and then same on the inside. You just see it starting to come apart at the bottom of the teeth there. This is why they always have replacement intervals, because the last thing you want to do is have the teeth snap on these, and you need an engine. Pins it in, guides off, water pump out, bosh. Now normally on these Volkswagens, what actually happens is the water pump fails before the timing belt fails. Customer has decided to do the crankshaft seal and the rear brakes. So while we're waiting for the parts, what I'll do is I'll strip the rear brakes apart and I'll do the fuel filter. And then the part should be here, we just throw it back together. Hey, it may not be big, but it does the job. Hit the floor, so it's fine. That should just lift up. Not really. Move this out of the way, get the filter out. Milwaukee, if you want some advice on this, or just some revision, it doesn't like plastic bolts. Like, sometimes it really struggles. See if you can sort that out. New one here, VF goes to the right. Just make sure you put it back in the same place. And always keep these, they can be useful for something. Other ones. Just get the rear brakes apart. Pull the caliper off. Make sure the boot's all right. Now what you want to note when winding these back is, does the pads have a locating pin? So you can see on the new pads there's no locating pin, so that means we can just wind that caliper back to wherever it goes. Just a little spray of WD-40 on the boot so it doesn't twist when you're winding the caliper back. See where it's just touched the disc here? At least they move nice and freely, which is always a good sign. Nice shiny surface, look at that. They're definitely not the same. I love part suppliers. Pretty sure these are front discs. Yeah. Put it back in the box. Just getting some training in while we're on the lunch break. Yeah, tried to talk while skipping. So I've got the fight coming up on the 29th of March. Vlad's going to put a link in the description. It's all for charity, so if you guys just want to donate, that'd be much appreciated. It's for a close family member that I'm doing the fight for, so get donating, please, people. If you haven't tried one of these, they're hard. Right, what we're going to do now is we've got to go around everybody, see how many people can get. Let's go, this is it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, bro. Ooh! It's how many can you do? Come on. Ah. Ooh. So back from lunch now. We still haven't got the right disc, so what we're going to do is going to take the other side apart. We've got our seal, so then we'll crack on with that. That's that one back. If we get new shims, let's just make sure they're of a decent quality and actually fit the carrier nicely. If not, I should just use the old ones. Yeah, cool. We can use the new ones, no problem. So let's just give the carrier a quick clean. And we've got new shims, which is, well, it's rare. Oh shit, my safety specs. Ceramic grease. Holds up better at higher temperatures. So, you know, when matey's flying down the road in his transporter, at least you know his brakes are greased. But while we're still waiting for the disc, what we're going to do is going to change this seal. Wow, that's tight. If at first you don't succeed, set it on fire. It's warm. And there you have it, people. Wetbelt on a transporter. Dun dun dun. We also done one of these the other day on a Skoda, and a lot of people were like, why didn't you just change it? They don't really suffer with breaking up on these, all right? VW have been using all pump belts for years and years and years, and they never give us any issues. We've inspected the belt, it's absolutely fine, doesn't need changing, so we're gonna leave it. Knife, turn scraper, completely clean. The last one we've done of these, we got a lot of comments saying, oh, you need to take the sump off to replace one of these seals, because people were moaning that you put silicone on here and it's just gonna push it across. Well, that's the idea. You push it across here so that it seals up the gap so it doesn't leak. None of it's going to go inside because it's all coming out and it seals up. Perfect. Plus we will check if it leaks, obviously. Slide it in. And you can see, look, all of the silicone that we've put on the inside is just pushed to the outside. Lovely. I'll just tidy this up so it looks a little bit neater. Because we struggled to get the crank pulley off, I'm just going to give this a nice little clean up. Put that back in. Put the crank back where it needs to be. There we go. Just like that. Get the water pump in, belt on. Clean up. And we're using the Gates kit because it's OEM quality. Goes there like that. Things I do for you, Vlad.
Yeah, man.
Work at awkward angles so that you can get the right one, yeah? Teamwork makes the dream work. That one goes there. Down there. Get the belt here. Sometimes the timing belt will have arrows on it, so it has to go that certain way. If it doesn't, it's just good practice to just keep the right in. The same way with the rotation. What I've got here is just a cut piece of timing belt just to hold it onto the crank. Put that in the bottom there, just so it can't skip teeth on a crank while you're trying to work up the top. Nice and taut there. And that just spins all the way around this way. Do this up. Turn it over, see if it all lines up again. So we want to go 4 times just to make sure we've got full engine rotation. So we go, we've got all of our pins back in. Our tensioner is bang on where it needs to be. Belt done. Put the covers back on. Throw it back together. Goes on there nice and easy now, doesn't it? Something like that. Go back up the top, start putting that back together. Pops onto its little popper. The timing belt's done. Now we've just got to sort the brakes out. See if these ones are right, shall we? That's better. So they come as one set of pads. Sometimes you'll get 2 inners and then 2 outers. They're just the same. nice and freely. Look at that, that's how brake pads should slide in. If they don't go in like that, it's not clean enough and you're going to give yourself a brake bind. Onto the other side, on carrier. This one has the wear wire in it. Little bit of grease around there to stop it from corroding again. Always torque your wheels up, people. It's the only thing holding you to the road, so make sure you torque them up. And then little tip, after you've torqued them, per wheel, put the caps back on. Otherwise you'll probably forget. Ask me how I know. So that's the van all wrapped up now. All we've got to do is wait for the silicone to go off overnight. Now we can put the oil in, the coolant in it in the morning, and then road test it. We're on the following morning now. We've let the silicone cure overnight. We're just putting the oil and antifreeze in it now, and we'll run it up, check it for leaks, make sure it's all good. So just before we start it up, we're going to run the ignition a couple of times, just so we can prime the fuel filter before we go ahead and crank it. Going to make sure that the heating's on full, so we know we're bleeding up the antifreeze system all right. So now we just leave it running. Well, nothing's pissing out straight away, so let's do the pollen filter. Take note of the arrows. Goes that way. So you see our arrows there. Put them back in the same way. We are completely bone dry everywhere, which is what we want to see, which proves you can do the front crank seal without taking the sump off. Now it is just road test. Just finished our test drive, all good, no problems at all. We've rechecked the van, all good, no problems at all. We've just reset the service light. Now it's good to go back to the customer.